Hey guys, it's Melanie. Happy Thursday. So today I have a review for you of a new powder foundation that I have been testing, and it is the Cover FX Pressed Mineral Foundation. I have the color G20, and I actually purchased mine at Ulta. You can also get this at Sephora, so depending on what store you want to buy it at, and obviously off of their website, I will link it in multiple places down below for you, so you have your choice. It retails for $38, and I was really intrigued to try this because I've honestly been looking at this powder foundation for a while now and kept passing it up. However, when I had a 20% off code at Ulta a few weeks ago and I was using some points, I decided to go ahead and finally give it a try. I do measure all powder foundations to my holy grail, which is the Laura Geller Balance and Brighten. This is my go-to. The only thing that sucks about this, and it's kind of a big thing, but I'm able to make it work, is that the color match is really not ideal for me. This is the color Fair. Porcelain is way too light, and their new light shade is way too dark. Even though the tone of that is better, it's so dark on me. So I make this work by adjusting with a more yellow finishing type powder, and it works. But the way that this looks on my skin is just fabulous. The only other powder foundation that I have used in the past that sort of measures up to this, even remotely, is the Wander Beauty Powder Foundation. I have done a review of that. I will link that down below if you guys are interested. But let's talk about the Cover FX. So I did get the color G20 because in the past I have used the Cover FX custom cover drops in the shade G20. And according to Cover FX, once you know what shade you are, all of their foundation products, so whether it's the liquid foundation, the powder foundation, the cream foundation that they have, you should be the same color in all the different formulations, if that makes sense. And there is a really huge color range. I'm looking at the Sephora website here, and I mean, there's quite a few options. They have some really deep, dark colors as well, so that is very nice. I also like that they separate by either neutral, golden, or pink undertones. I have a lot of yellow in my skin, and so the golden undertones work best for me. When I first saw this, I'm not gonna lie, I held it up to me and I thought, oh, this is not gonna be a good match. It's very yellow. But honestly, once I apply it with a brush, it's fine. And I always get this question, and the answer is always gonna be the same, you guys. This is the powder foundation brush that I love and that I recommend the most. It's the Bye Bye Pores powder brush from It Cosmetics. I will link this down below as well. It is absolutely fantastic. It provides the perfect amount of coverage. It allows you to really buff the product into your skin. It's amazing. This does come with a sponge. You can see I use the sponge a little bit, but I don't like these types of sponges, even though I do think you can apply this with a sponge to get a heavier coverage. They say that you can get sheer to medium full coverage from this. I'm gonna go with sheer to medium as like being realistic, but I really prefer a beauty blender. Now, I like my beauty blender to be damp, so almost dry again, and that works the best for me. If I use a dry sponge, it just looks too heavy and cakey on my skin. And even after applying with a sponge, I will also go through and sort of buff things in. If you are curious about a powder foundation routine, I did do one a few weeks ago. I will link that down below for you as well, so you can see how I apply my powder foundation. But in terms of this particular product, I wanted to kind of walk you through what the benefits of it are, what some of the ingredients are, what they say that it does, and how it performs on my skin, basically. So I'm gonna stop holding it up. You guys know what it looks like at this point. They basically say that this is for every single skin type: sensitive, normal, dry, combination, and oily. I will say, powder foundation doesn't always look the best on dry skin. You really have to moisturize your skin well, and you have to be careful not to buff too much to create like some micro exfoliation where you know, will get flakes and stuff showing on your skin. I think dry skin probably is gonna do better with a liquid foundation, like a hydrating liquid foundation. But yes, if you are normal, if you are a combination, or if you're extremely oily like me, this really is the way to go. Powder foundation has been a go-to for me for years at this point. This formula is talc-free. It is an oil-absorbing powder foundation that provides sheer to full buildable coverage. Again, I think it's more sheer to medium. They have 40 shades, so talc-free. They do use kaolin clay to absorb excess oil. I do think that it wears pretty well on my oily skin. I get to about, what time is it right now? It's actually 3:30 in the afternoon right now. I put this on at 7 in the morning. I feel like it's still wearing pretty well. I do blot right around 5 o'clock. I'll just take a piece of tissue and sort of blot my skin a little bit. But that's pretty typical. I do think that the kaolin clay in here does help to absorb a little bit of excess oil. It says that it's a high pigment formula, effortlessly conceals and hides imperfections. Powder foundation is never really going to give you the hiding power of like a concealer or a liquid foundation, but you can build it up in certain areas if you're careful, you know, using a sponge and, you know, just kind of doing a couple of layers. I never really recommend that. If you really need a high coverage foundation, I would probably recommend using a liquid first and then going over top of that with a powder foundation maybe. But if you are someone who has a lot of hyperpigmentation, or you have a lot of acne or a lot of acne scarring and you use powder foundation, do you feel like it provides you enough coverage? I'm lucky in that at this point in my life, I'm almost 40, I'm not really dealing with a ton of breakouts anymore. They're occasional at this point, but I also don't get like the really inflammatory acne anymore. I had that in my teenage years. Luckily, I grew out of that, but I was using liquid foundation back then, which was, I think it was like the CoverGirl Clean Makeup. Do you guys remember that? It smelled like Noxzema. But yeah, so basically, I like this powder foundation, you guys. Do I think it's my new holy grail and does it replace the Laura Geller? No. And honestly, the way that I've really enjoyed using this the most is putting my Laura Geller on first and then using this to balance out the tone of this. So you can see that one is very neutral and one is very golden. So they balance each other out really nicely. There's just something about the way that this looks on my skin that no other powder foundation has been able to mimic. And that might be due to the fact that this actually starts its life out as a cream and then it's baked. That might have something to do with it, but in general, most of my conclusions with any new powder foundation is that I always tend to go back to this, but I like to incorporate the new ones in combination because the new ones that I've been able to find that I really like tend to be a better color match for me. So it's 2 thumbs up. I do see myself probably repurchasing this in the future. There's no reason to not. Again, it helps to absorb some excess oil. It looks good on my skin. It's a good color match. It doesn't give me like that, gosh, this almost, once it like meshes in with my skin, almost looks like a liquid. There's just a smoothness and a satininess to my skin. This does look like a powder foundation for a while, and it takes a little bit longer for it to sort of mesh with my skin, if that makes sense. When I first put this on, it looks like I'm wearing a powder on my face. But again, within a few hours, once my oils come through and everything kind of mixes together, it looks really, really good. So 2 thumbs up for me. If you're looking to branch out from the Balance and Brighten and you're looking for something that is gonna have a better color match for you, color-wise, you've got 40 options here, so there's a ton. You should be able to find a color and a tone that works for you. So yeah, I don't know, have you guys tried this? What are your thoughts? I always like to hear what you guys think of these products as well. Again, I'm coming at it from the perspective of I have really oily skin, and powder foundation really is the only thing that works for me. So I don't test liquid foundations anymore. I just don't even bother, because every one that I've tried, even the ones that are specifically designed for oily skin, just slide off my face. So there's that. If you notice the lighting change, I think there's a cloud that just went over the sun. So that's what's happening. Let me know if you guys have any questions at all. Again, I'm gonna link this down below for you in the description box. So go read up a little bit more about it, see what the shade range is all about. I feel like it's worth a try. I really do think that this is one that I would recommend. Still love this. If you've never tried this, I also really recommend checking out the Balance and Brighten, even though the color selection is super limited. Super limited. I really wish that Laura Geller would make more options, not only on the lighter end of the spectrum in terms of skin tones and skin shades, but also on the darker end. I feel like she's got the middle covered pretty well, but lighter and darker, I feel like there could be some improvement there. So anyway, let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Please subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.